Saturday night after the game, you mentioned a couple times the team didn't have the mental edge that you thought it should have. What did you specifically mean by that?
I specifically meant I didn't think we had a whole lot of fight. I think that first goal they scored really deflated our team. And I didn't see the fight and the will to compete that we had Friday. And the frustration that you saw in me after the game was I thought we'd been down this road before. Now, with all that being said, we've played 3 games this year. And it's early and so on and so forth. But we want to be known for a team that fights at the very least and competes and is willing to hang in there until the final buzzer. You know, all those cliches and whatever. But it's something we've been not bad at, especially the second half of last year. So that's where we've been talking about this since we started talking in September or late August, that we were hoping to wrap our arms around the momentum we created at the end of last year, the second half of last year. That's where some of that frustration came from on Saturday.
What do you have to do to fix that?
Well, if I had the absolute answer, I would have done it by now. I don't have the absolute 100% answer. I have to believe that I've got to really lean on the older players. The guys have been through it before. The same people that decided we're not going to be the doormat, we're not going to be that team anymore, which, again, we showed signs of in the past. Now, we got hit right in the face with a big-time opponent this past weekend. But that's what happens every weekend in our league. And we felt like we kind of handed them some things on Friday and did some good things. So hopefully we don't hand them things and do the same things we did Friday on Saturday, we'd have a better result. And obviously that wasn't the case. I understand we're still a work in progress. Our leadership is still young. But we want to make sure that we don't need to learn the same lessons we've already learned before again this year. We'd have no time for that.
Chris, to what level is your concern on that? I mean, is it a crisis level situation,
no. Or that's where it's a great question. That's where Chris has to do a better job, okay? Because it isn't crisis mode. It isn't. I can't believe here we go again. None of that, okay? It's of concern because we've sat here for 6 weeks as a program, and what I'm talking about is less physical and more mental, and that's all we were able to do in the month of September was talk about the mental side, was to reflect mentally on what we've been through as a program, individually and collectively, and how we can make sure we don't do those things again. We deal with adversity better, starting with me. And then going all the way down the line. So absolutely, we are in not panic mode. But I don't want to get to the holiday break and then people go home and reflect and say, I don't want this anymore. What we're saying is, let's put a stop to this right now. Let's put a stop to this right now and remember what we've been through. Remember the lessons we've learned. And that's, I guess, kind of getting back to Kevin's last question. I don't know any other way other than to remind people, again, the 6, 5, 7 freshmen, whatever it is, they're looking around and just following. So it's not them. It's everybody else that have been through it before. I want someone to say that we're not doing this again. It's not going to happen. If we take that same edge, we think we've added to our team. We haven't taken away from our team. That's nothing to do with the 2 seniors we lost. We've added to a team that went to Ferris and won in the playoffs, that went to Joe Louis and went nose to nose with a top team. And it's last year, I get it. But that's where the frustration comes from. That's where, let's make sure we put a stop to this right now. So we don't this thing gets away from us and all of a sudden we're 6, 8 games in and we're in the same position we're in because our heads are still spinning about what's going on. I don't think they're resting. I don't think they're thinking about last year because our practices have been fine. But the details in practice, which early in the year aren't great, it's costing us in games. At least it did against Union. My feel is it'll do the same thing this weekend at Colgate. So we have to do better. And a lot of the focus that we've had the last few days has been on our mental approach.
But we're talking leadership here again. I mean, you know,
We're talking leadership development, Dave. That's what we're talking. We're not talking a lack of it. We're talking a leadership development opportunity. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about helping these young guys understand that they can't always look to the coaches for, okay, tell us what to do, coach. Give us the reason this is happening. There may not be a reason. It may have to be those 22 guys that are in the lineup that night, or 20, or whatever it is, say that this isn't going to happen, and I'm going to lead the way. It's not a lack of it. It's just guys that are new at it at this level, and we're throwing it at them to say, this is the time. Step up and say something, and then go out there and do it. And that's what we're talking about. Us helping them become better leaders, which again is part of our job. And that's all we're talking about. I thought at times the first 2 years it was a lack thereof. Whether it was all on one guy, or last year there really wasn't one guy. We've got plenty of people. It's just a matter of those people, starting with the two captains. One's a sophomore and one's a junior. And when you say sophomore, he's played 3 games as a sophomore and 1 exhibition. And the junior has played 3 games as a junior and 1 exhibition. You know, you can't teach those kids to be seniors. And I'm not putting it on the seniors. I'm not saying our seniors don't give. Our seniors are still new to this whole deal, right? So it's an opportunity. And that's what I'm looking at it as. Not as a lack of leadership. An opportunity to grow as leaders. And say, this isn't about him. This is about us. And me specifically, and I can go do something about it. That's what we're trying to promote with them, to nurture with them. And we had opportunities this past weekend.
And I know in the preseason you talked about how you felt that you got away from process in the early part of last year. Is that kind of the lesson that you have to learn there from, or
yes,
not learn but implement?
Yeah,
from last year?
for me individually, there's no doubt about it. I've got a long way to go. I got a lot of growth. I've got to grow up. I've got to realize that. Again, I've got to practice what I'm preaching because I believe in it. I do believe in it. But I can tell you, John, our process last week in practice wasn't very good. I'm not saying I would have said the same thing if we beat Union twice. Our process wasn't very good. Last week, Wednesday's practice was not very good. We are not a program. I don't know if we'll ever be, but we're not right now a program that can prepare poorly and not worry about process and details in our preparation. And then Friday night say, okay, it's game time. We got off to a good start, got a little momentum, got a little jump, and then all of a sudden what happened? The process and the details of our game cost us 2 goals. Now all of a sudden the momentum game was on their side. And that's where it kind of got away from us a little bit. And that's what I'm talking about. So we're all a work in progress with that. We're all going to stick to the process. That's what we did on Monday. We went back to the process, focusing on the details, all with the mindset that we're going to be intense every day. And we're throwing at them that we need their best version today. We need the best version of Bobby Shea and Andrew Hammond and Mark Rudd every day. Not on Friday or Saturday, every day. Just like they expect the best version of me. And that's fair. That's what we expect in this program. So that's what we're talking about.
Going back to the leadership, is there evidence of guys taking younger guys under their wings, either on the ice or off the ice?
Yes, there is. We see it all the time. These kids care about each other. They want it better. I hear it on the bench. So yes, now it's just a matter of continuing to nurture it, continuing to show examples of this is an opportunity for someone to step up, you know. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to crush their confidence either. I mean, we don't want them to think, well, I stink as a leader. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. And we've never criticized like the seniors like it's their fault since we've been here. We're not doing it now. Our job is to help these guys grow and learn. We had a couple of opportunities this weekend that proved to us we're not quite there yet in terms of it being theirs. It's more because they're talking to each other, they're holding each other accountable for the most part, but they're still looking at me for answers. And there's times when the answer's not going to come from the coach. The answer's going to come from the older guys, the leadership of the team, because they know they're the ones that can go out there and make it better.
You mentioned after Friday's game that you liked how the team played 5-on-5 situations, and it really, in Friday's game, did turn when you guys started taking penalties. Is there a specific way you can go about practicing, teaching guys to use sort of, I don't want to say better judgment, but smarter in situations where they don't take?
Yeah, the only way I know is negative reinforcement. I mean, that's the only way I know. And obviously that doesn't mean get the belt out and anything physical. It's just either, you put them on the boards, you say, you look at those penalties, the two in particular in the first period, Rusty's was unnecessary. Moeller got a little loose with his stick, got a high sticking. We took 3 penalties. We took 3. If you say we're going to get 3 penalties against Union on Friday, will you take it? I would have taken it in a heartbeat. And I would have said, we're going to kill 3 out of 3. It was more so our execution of the penalty kill than it was our play in terms of the penalties we took or the discipline that we showed. To take 3 penalties, I had no problem with that. That's going to happen. I don't think you can ask these kids to give us everything they have and be as intense as we expect them to be and not take a penalty or 2 based on a poor decision. If we see it in practice, it'll be some type of repercussion, whatever. But we didn't think it was necessarily our discipline on Friday. Our 5-on-5 play was fine, and there was times where it was better than that. I think it was more of a focus on how poor our penalty kill was in those 3 situations.
Now, was that because of how strong Union is on the power play, or was there a particular part of the penalty kill you saw from your guys that you did?
Well, I think we could all go back to the tape and see it. Union's power play is awesome. So giving them second and third opportunities in the zone is absolutely not in anyone's best interest, never mind ours. We had the puck on our stick. All 3 of those situations, we had the puck on our stick, and we weren't able to get it out. And when you give a power play like that opportunities, they're going to score. They're going to take advantage of that second chance, that third chance. And that's part of the process and details I was mentioning before. We weren't great in penalty kill last Wednesday. So should we have done more penalty kill Thursday? I don't know. That's hindsight. That's something I'll learn from. But come Friday, it was the same thing we did Wednesday in practice, in preparation. We would win pucks and fight for those pucks and win them and then not be able to get them out because we turn off for a second. And usually when guys have been through it 50 times, you don't see that. But when you've still got young guys doing it, it takes them once or twice. And unfortunately, those are the lessons I'm talking about. Don't turn the puck over to Union. And we turned it over all weekend long, and they proved to us why you can't turn the puck over against Union. So that's I don't think it was as much one thing or the other. I think it was just our overall execution, in particular with the puck on the penalty kill.
When you also look from a face-off perspective too, obviously Andrew Wallace has been outstanding this year, but then your 2 top-line centermen, Cam Watala and Brian Carpenter, have both been at or below 500. Mm-hmm. Is that a concern to you, considering that those are the 2 guys who take a lot of the offensive zone draws?
Yes, it is. We put a lot of emphasis on face-offs. Those guys know it. The face-offs are one of those things that you can take ownership of and get better at. There's some things it's really hard to improve. Face-offs is not one of them. And I know both Ryan and Cam want to be better. And I think they're taking ownership of that. I think they're watching some tape on it. I think they're practicing it during our open ice situations. And we have, probably 6 to 10 to 12 face-offs for every centerman every day in practice. Live face-offs. Watala against Carpenter, Wallace against DeSalvo, whomever it may be. So we're practicing this on a constant basis, and it's a concern. There's no doubt about it.
Anything else for Coach?
Are we likely to see red tape this weekend?
No. Unfortunately, it's one of those injuries that's just hard to put your finger on it. I don't think we know what it is. It's just he's not feeling much better. So continue with the course of action and try to figure out the best way to get him back out there. There's nobody more frustrated than him.
Are we likely to see him against Ohio State or?
Well, just because, again, Kevin, now every day that goes by is one less day that he's had to prepare, and guys are getting in more condition and better shape, and so I don't know. I think that's a stretch. For sure not this weekend. I think it's a stretch for Ohio State, but we'll see.
What can we expect to see from Colgate this weekend?
We talked to Miami about them. They're really fast. They're a team that wants to get up and go. They just want to play the game offensive style. They want to push the pace. Their D-men will really get involved in that, which we got a good test and good taste of what that looks like with Union last weekend. They're a group that is young. They've got a bunch of freshmen. There's some turnover there. They're two top guys in terms of point guys. I think Austin Smith was one of the better players in the country last year, from what I understand. He and the second top scorer, that they both have signed and moved on. So I think we can. They played a Niagara team at their rink and beat them up pretty good. Obviously, I think there's a combination there. They were really good. Niagara probably wasn't as good that night. We can expect a really hard opponent again. I think we're going to have to take care of the puck, and we're going to have to play through bodies, just like the focus was going into Union. This team is probably a little less established. Union returned 22 players or something like that from their Frozen Four team. That's not what, Colgate is not that in terms of their belief, in terms of what they're trying to do there. They're kind of retooling with some freshmen there, so we won't have that same focus. But that going to their rink and playing them there, again, I think they got a CCHA opponent last weekend. They've got another one next weekend. They're coming off a couple of losses, so we're probably going to get a pretty hungry team, a team that wants to make amends for what happened last weekend. So, and that's how we're preparing. We're preparing that we've got to take better care of the puck, and we've got to play through these bodies and make them earn what they get versus us giving them things.
What do you like about what Ryan Vaselli's given you so far?
First of all, his effort. Ryan Vaselli's effort has always been outstanding. There was almost, at times over the first couple of years, it was almost he was almost out of control. He's sometimes he can be mistaken as kind of a nervous guy, a little fidgety, a little jumpy. But what Ryan wants to be, that agitator type role. That's what he was in junior. And when he's at his best, that's what he is. He's kind of a guy that's always in the way and always right there. And anything goes on in practice, Vaselli's usually right in the middle of it. But he gives you 100% effort every day. And I think that in itself is a pretty honest, fair lead or example. And that's what we get from him. And he's been rewarded. We felt like, you add depth, or you add tape to your lineup, and you add some of the guys that, like a Pletch, 100% healthy and so on. All of a sudden, it gets pretty crowded with our forwards. And we had talked to Ryan like he's going to have to establish himself as someone that can make a difference in our lineup every night. And again, just like last year, he's found his way right in the middle of everything based on how he's played. He's taken the opportunity to play that he earned, and he's taken full advantage of the opportunity. So there was times on Friday where that was one of our better lines with Wallace, Vaselli, and Rodriguez, and it's based on hard work and their willingness to compete. So that's what we like about him.
In terms of the mental approach, and Coach Bergeron alluded to.
Yeah, obviously coach hits everything, but it's really that plays with the puck. Like you said, like on Friday we had 5 power per special team goals. Like that can't happen. We did have the puck on our stick every single goal. We just didn't get the puck out, and that's just execution of the puck. That's really what it is. If we make our plays, I think we can beat Colgate.
How about in terms of what you talked about in terms of the leadership development?
Our 2 captains, they're both great players and both great leadership skills. But it's there. Like Coach said, they're young guys. They are sophomores and juniors. We do have our seniors. We do play a leadership role, but it's coming along. I mean, you can't just. It's hard to explain. It's something you can't just hit right on the head. I mean, it takes time and it'll come. I mean, it's still 3 games in this season, and it'll come.
When you talk about good practices and bad practices, the coach had talked about things just weren't gelling in practice last week. It's almost like it's something that you just can't control. Or what can you do to practice better?
No, it's all mental. I mean, like we have pucks blown off sticks. Like what we started to do in practice is when, negative things happen, like with skateboards. You know, like today I thought it was better. Like we had a good practice today, and everything was pretty fluid. You know, we were good. Like pucks weren't jumping off our stick. We were making plays, and that's the difference. You know, for example, like there's a lot of times and during the game this weekend, the puck would hit the defense stick. You know, and we'd lose our chance to score right there. And practice today, I thought it was pretty good. But when it doesn't go right, then that's what it is. It just jumps out and screws the whole flow up.
You mentioned the increased leadership role the seniors have taken. Being one of the most experienced guys on the blue line, in what ways have you sort of, shown the younger guys on the blue line the ropes, so to speak?
Well, you know, it's like I've been there longer than the D, obviously, you know, and it's just, I've been there, so I have to set the example. I have to be out there every day. I can't let the pucks blow off my stick, because I've done that. Like I've been there. Like I've had that as an issue in my game. Pucks hitting my stick. Well, I have to be the guy that, if something like that happens, I have to tell them, let's figure it out. We have to good practice. So we're gonna, like Coach says, this happens in the game, and I have to be that guy. I have to set the example on the ice to not be the guy that screwed up. I have to make the good plays, so everybody tries to do what I do.
So when you look at your career, you certainly didn't sign up for coaching change. You came here as a D, were a D for a while, then you went forward, now you're back at D. The one constant though has been that you played hard every day. How have you kind of approached things?
It's not my choice who's the coach. You know, obviously I love our coaches. You know, it's not. I'm just here to play. The things I can control is what I need to focus on, not different coaches. That's nothing to do with me. I just got to play my game and do what Bobby does.
Bobby, how difficult has it been to do that, though?
How difficult?
Yeah.
At first, I committed to Pollock. I was the first coach. I didn't even play for him. Dennis Williams came in and Burge, but I've been playing for Burge for 2 years, in my 3rd year now, and I don't think it's been hard. We have our systems, but it's just playing hockey. It's just something different. Obviously, it's different between Williams and Bergeron, but it's still hockey.
I mean, there have been a lot of distractions, coaching changes, position changes. You haven't won as much as you'd like, but yet your effort's been there. So you just concentrate on playing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, all athletes have to be like that. You have to just focus on what you control. That's the main thing. If you don't do that, obviously your mental game's going to be off.